I am José Manuel García-Lomas Allen-Perkins, President and first Consultant of García-Lomas Allen-Perkins, the ADO Corporation. Today we continue in this video developing key aspects about something so vital in the business world, such as communication in obtaining information. Many years ago I made what was called the Uppsala experiment, Sweden. It wasn't long ago that I had to travel to Sweden to receive training as a consultant from a multinational consulting company about human behavior in the business world, to later become the consultant trainer in my country. As the Swedish would say, the training I received was a training the trainer to training trainers to training trainees. That is to say, to develop a training the trainer to train trainers to train themselves. Rick Marol, right? Uppsala's experiment consisted of preparing the performance of a speaker on economic and financial issues, to give his lecture to an auditorium in a large theater in the university city of northern Sweden in Uppsala. The auditorium was made up of students, mainly male, from the university, in the final years of their careers, and specialists in economic and financial matters. The speaker had been trained to give his speech in a certain cadence, rhythm. That is to say, he knew exactly what he was going to say almost second by second in his presentation. The speaker, standing on the stage on the theater with a small table and his chair, begins his exposition, and in a few minutes later, in the silence of the room, a shy knock can be heard in the door of the side of the stage. Someone might think that some lagging was arriving and mistakenly wanted to enter through the side door of the dais. The lecturer ignores and continues to give his lecture. A few seconds later, the knock again sounds in the door of the podium, but now the knock is more insistent and sonorous. The lecturer continues to give his speech without paying attention to the insistent knock on the door. Finally, the door of the podium opens in silence, and a waitress with a glass of water in a tray with her coasters appears in the silence in the lintel of the door. Someone might have thought, of course, she was late when the lecture started, and with the glass of water that the lecturer had urged her to have, in order to avoid the dryness of his mouth during the lecture. She calls shyly and gets no answer. She, behind the door with a glass of water, listens to the lecturer in his speech and does not dare to enter. She hesitates, knocks again, there is no answer, but she thinks that she should deliver the glass of water that the lecturer has urged her to give. She opens the door in the silence, and after a few seconds she begins to walk on the podium in full of the view of the auditorium. The audience in the room, mainly male, thinks, "Gee, what a waitress to look for in this conference room." For what the public sees is an impressive blonde beauty in a tight black suit. And also, as the mini-skirt fashion had already begun, the impressive waitress wore an exaggerated mini-skirt. She silently advanced to the lecturer's table and deposit the glass of water in the corner of the table silently. But at that moment the cloth from the coaster, moistened by the coldness of the glass of water, detach and falls to the ground. She who does Swedish gymnastic every morning bends her waist olympically without bending her legs, with her back to the audience, picks up the coaster from the floor and places it under the lecturer's glass, turns around and quietly disappears through the door that entered. The lecturer did not stop giving his lecture, and the auditorium remained attentive, apparently to the lecturer, until the conference ends. The doors of the auditorium are open and the public goes out into the street. But some students quickly make a survey with some questionnaires to the public that goes out to see the degree of capture of the messages of the lecturer by the means of a sampling. The information obtained is given to analysts who submit it to their computer to process information. Analysts do not come out of their astonishment when they receive the information from the computer, because as they develop the curve of attention of the auditorium, it is seen that, coinciding with the first knock of the waitress at the door, upon knowing what the lecturer was saying at that moment, because he was prepared to give his speech with a certain cadence, it is seen that there is a loss of the message of the lecturer. In other words, human beings are sometimes distracted by the flight of a fly. Knock, and the imagination in part of the auditorium flew away. Coinciding with the second knock, the loss of messages is greater and in crescendo. And from there, the analysts think that something serious is happening in the attention of the auditorium, because the attention curve decays, continues decaying, and there is a moment in which the message of the speaker is lost almost in its totality. Afterwards, the attention is recomposed according to the analyst's computer information, but already the attention curve was seriously affected and not longer recovered its initial trajectory. Interference and disturbances assault us continuously and affect the reception of messages, and a beautiful woman's legs in the Uppsala's communication experience produce important effect in the reception of the message, due to the disturbance and interferences caused by the presence of the waitress. Now I suggest you to make a new interesting questionnaire. In the previous video we did a questionnaire on the information transmission. Now we are going to address another interesting questionnaire on the obtaining information. For this we are going to present 10 statements that can be answered with a right if what it says there seems right to me, or with an incorrect if what is said seems wrong to me. After each point I will leave a brief space of time so that you can think which is the correct answer, pausing the video, and then I will give the correct answer. 1. When we do not understand our interlocutor, it is generally our fault. What do you say? Wrong. When communication fails, If you had to look for a culprit, do it on the transmitter side where the communication begins. 2. For an experienced person, it is not difficult to distinguish between facts and assumptions. Incorrect. Even with experience, we may lack data to know if the situation presented to us is a fact or corresponds to a well-posed assumption. Remember that there are people who sell very well their approaches according to their interests. 3. If we have doubts about what our collaborator is asking us, we will answer his question with another one. What do you say? Correct. We will ask him to clarify what he are asking us. 4. People feel attacked when we ask them many questions. What do you say? Wrong. Here is a little trap. Not necessarily if we have been able to justify why we ask it in an efficient way. The rule is that before asking, you have to justify. 5. Commercials usually like to talk, so they will always be willing to give information. And what do you say? Incorrect. One thing is that they are prone to communication, and another is that they know what information to give and what not to give. 6. The aim of the rhetorical question is to obtain information from the silent collaborator. Incorrect. The rhetorical question will be answered by the same person who makes it after a good pause to put the auditorium or client to think and create attention and expectation. 7. Next, you will read an influence question. What do you think about the price of this product? What we think? Incorrect, since we don't know what that price is like. Whether good or bad, the question is neutral and not of influence. 8. When we ask sincerely, the answer is sincere. What we say? Incorrect, not necessarily. We are not angels yet. 9. A man's response is often influenced by his situation and his own desire. Right, that is the way it is. And 10. Before asking, you have to justify. And the answer is correct. We have already pointed it out. This questionnaire has been of interest to you, hasn't it? Did we get many points right? Okay. If you are interested in our videos, I suggest that you give a like and subscribe to our channel for the videos that are to come.